What's up, everybody? Okay, so I'm going to talk about staying flexible while you are on your journey to become a big, freaky monster. Before I got to, my bodybuilding, I'm retired now, but I still stay really big. Before I got to that certain size, that I would say that 220, 230 plus at like 5'10", when you start getting up there higher, especially over 250, you're not that mobile. You'll notice, I was an athlete when I was younger. You can't do the same things. It makes things harder just putting your shoes on sometimes. I remember when I was in off season, like 280 pounds, fairly lean, I could barely put my shoes on. And the whole joke about bodybuilders, they can't wipe their what. That's not true, but maybe for some, I don't know. But it's a huge issue because, like just putting my shoes on some days, like I'll reach down and like my shoulder will kind of twinge, or, you know, um, when you're carrying a lot more muscle mass, it's a lot easier to get injured because, you know, all that, like I've had clients that, one client particularly, he was taking out the trash. Okay. He got the trash, dumped it over like that, and tore his right bicep. Okay. It healed. He was literally bowling, like not far after it healed, with his other arm. And he went and threw the ball, and his bicep just whoosh, came up and balled up and tore both of his biceps. Most injuries like that, like all my injuries, I've tore my pec, I've tore my tricep. What else did I tear? I've tore something else. I can't even think off the top of my head. Most of it never happens in the gym. My injuries didn't happen in the gym. It just happens doing something dumb, especially moving furniture. If you're a bodybuilder, do not move furniture. Go hire someone, especially when you stretch your arms out like that, and do not move furniture. So, what can you do to kind of like, my problem was when I stopped playing soccer and I transitioned into bodybuilding, um, I stopped stretching as much. I did a lot of things that I should have kept up with my mobility work. A lot of bodybuilders do now, and that's really good that they do that. But once you start getting a certain size, it's just kind of like, oh, I don't need to do that. I feel better. I feel fine. I don't need to be that limber, and it helps a lot because you don't want to be this big, massive bodybuilder and not be able to go kick the soccer ball with your son or do whatever. Like I was doing that last night, and stretching is very important. You want to stretch, but always after your workouts, never before weight training. You can do a little stretching, just baby, but not much at all. You do not want to stretch before your workouts. That can make your muscles loose and make you more prone to injury. Okay. One thing I learned that helped me out a lot, I did back in 2015. I retired in 2014. Then I had an idea about in 2015 I was going to maybe try to get back into competing. I started doing yoga. Okay. Let me tell you something. I I am not flexible at all. I got out of that yoga class, my whole shirt was soaked, and it wasn't even Bikram yoga, it was just regular yoga. That was so difficult for me. And then the next day, my body was so sore just because it wasn't used to something like that. But I started doing it just like once or twice a week, and my body started feeling a lot better. My lifts were better. And don't get me wrong, I think there's a point where, especially people that are really into yoga, you can become too flexible. And then when you become too flexible, let's say you're doing squats, you squat down, your body needs to have a little like pullback where you're not super flexible because that's you're going to be more prone to injury doing that too. I think there's like a happy medium. So a lot of my bodybuilders I've sent to do yoga, and I think that's really, really, something to do. It's just something else to tax on to the massages, like all the stuff bodybuilders do to maintain. And it was wearing me out. I was doing it twice a week, and I had to cut back to once a week because it was wearing me out. Granted, I just had my first child too, so that was making me tired also. But I think that's really something important to do, because If you're just, like I was playing with my daughter one day and I was running and I went to jump and it was like kind of cold outside and I tore like, it's called a Gilmore's growing. Basically, it's a tear from your growing all the way to your like pubic bone area. And that was a horrible surgery I had to have. They had to go in there and pretty much just cut the nerve out, most of the nerve, because all the tendons were just completely shredded up. So be really careful when you put on all your muscle. And as you're putting it on, stay, like the mistake I did make, stay, flexible. Do little things, stretch more, maybe do yoga. I was, in 2016, I started doing boxing again with my friend. Just going like, he would hold the mitts and I would just box. And let me tell you something, the first probably week or like the first few sessions, I was so exhausted, just so overtrained. Just from, holding my arm up like that is hard without even having any weight. And then like, hitting the mat, hitting the, mats and all that stuff, hitting the mitts, it wore me out. And I started doing that on a regular basis and I felt a lot better. And then, of course, I got out of doing it just because got too busy and other stuff. I'm going to start back, I believe, next week. And the cool thing is I'm going to have my 4-year-old, he just turned 4, my 4-year-old son do it with me. So he's going to be in the same session. And so he's learning, so he'll learn how to punch. He's going to be in the same session with me. So he'll hit the mitts and then I'll hit the mitts and he'll hit the mitts and then I'll hit the mitts. So I'll keep that in shape. Like, not bodybuilding shit because I'm already big and muscular, obviously, but just, kind of doing a cardio, but also strengthening my shoulders and making them stronger. I'm not trying to get in there or get in the ring or anything, so I'm not going to be throwing any crazy, punches or where I'm going to hurt my shoulder or throw my arm out. It's going to be slow, controlled, hitting the mat, and eventually maybe speed up over time. That's what I did before. But you need to find something like that. I suggest that, and it's going to be something fun I can do with my son. He sees daddy hit the bags, then he'll hit the bags. But I definitely recommend you find something, whether it be yoga, something like going to hit the bags, or, I wouldn't suggest anything like going to play soccer on the weekends or basketball because you will probably get injured eventually doing that at a bigger size. Being a jacked bodybuilder, that's not really something that goes hand in hand. So I wouldn't suggest something that extreme, but going to the gym, hitting the bags, stretching, doing yoga. Try the yoga thing. That's really, really important. I've sent a lot of clients to do it also, and it's helped them a lot with their lifting and just with their mobility too, because you don't think about, everybody wants to get big, but once they get that size, certain people, if they're genetically able to, once you get to that, like the size I'm at now, like 260, 270, when I was competing, I was getting all the way up to 280, but I was even leaner at 280 then. You don't realize how uncomfortable you are all the time. Like, you're uncomfortable all the time. Putting your clothes on, you're like, oh, you're like sweating, and then this doesn't fit, and it's not all roses at the top when you get that big. There's a lot of restrictions you have, and that's why so many bodybuilders, when they retire, they get small on purpose because the muscle just doesn't disappear. If you're still eating protein and you're still working out, a lot of the muscle is going to stay. And if you're keeping your hormones right, a lot of the muscle will stay. A lot of these top bodybuilders, they shrink so much because when they retire, they quit everything. They're so burnt out. They quit the gym. They quit eating altogether. They may eat once or twice a day. That's why those bodybuilders get small. Myself, I still eat enough protein. I don't eat that much. I'll maybe eat like 100 grams a day. I'll go to the gym 3 times a week still, and then I'll still take my hormones from my doctor. That keeps me, a little bit above normal average, and I'll take some Anavar too to help with my joints. But guys, throw something in there like that. It will help dramatically. And I've been meaning to make a video like this for a long time. It's just so simple, but it will help your workouts, your training, and help you prevent from getting injured. Because when you're at your best, your biggest, and it's easy to get injured. And that's just something that happens. All right, guys, make sure you go check out my book. It's on Amazon and Kindle now, Geared Up. Tells about all my cycles when I was competing and a couple crazy stories. Peace out, guys.